Well, hello, my dear friends, and welcome to another Through the Bible message in the Psalms. Today we are in Psalm 68 with this topic entitled, Let God Arise. And maybe you're in a situation where you need to see God arise, because it really seems like he's nowhere around. But on the contrary, he is very much involved in all things. Well, again, my name is Justyn Smith with a Heart for Revival Ministries. So very glad that you are interested in the work of the Word of God, in the work of the ministry. Thank you for your attention to the Scriptures, and may our little challenge today be something that encourages you in this life. I want you to notice point 1 in Psalm 68. It goes with the title, Let God Arise. Let's listen to 2 verses, and then we'll explain. It says in verse 1, Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered, let them also that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melteth before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. The psalmist recognizes that when God shows up, God changes things, especially when it comes down to the enemies that wage war against him. Notice again what it says. The whole reason why the psalmist wants God to get up, wants God to arise in his situation, is because he has an enemy. Lord, scatter the enemy, because I know that if the enemy is scattered, the enemy will not prevail. Let them also that hate him flee before him. We want them to scatter. We want them to flee. We want them away. It is not good to be under their hand. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered. Then in verse 2, we point out again, as the smoke is driven away. Have you ever taken a blanket or a quilt or a piece of cardboard when there's a fire, and then you begin to take that and you cause a draft cause the wind moving that smoke away? Maybe something's been in the oven or on the stovetop that's caused smoke so that your smoke alarm goes off, and you've taken that cardboard or that blanket or your hand and you're just trying to get the smoke to drive away so that the annoying beeper stops beeping. And if you don't drive the smoke away, you get up, you take the battery out, right? There's another illustration. As wax melteth before the fire. Think of it like a simple illustration of a candle. When it is burning down the wick, the wax is melting. It's going down the candle. It is being something that it was not originally created as. It is melting down and melting away. And no longer will it be a candlestick. It'll just be a puddle of wax. The wax melteth before the fire. Let the wicked perish at the presence of God. Let God arise. The presence of God changes things, is what this verse is saying. When the presence of God shows up in your situation, when God makes his name known, the enemies scatter. The enemies flee. They're driven away like the smoke. And what a wonderful day that is. Number 2, let the righteous rejoice. You can begin to imagine that when the enemy is scattered because God arises, the righteous have reason to rejoice. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before God. Yea, let them exceedingly rejoice. So if gladness isn't enough, if rejoicing before God isn't enough, let's make it exceeding rejoicing. Just let it bubble over and explode from your life. Sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him, lift him up, that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah, that holy name, and rejoice before him. The righteous, learning to rejoice. It changes your particular situation. It changes what is going on. There's verses that would talk about rejoicing in any time of life. Rejoice evermore, as it says in the Thessalonians in the New Testament. But what we need to see from this passage is the excitement, the rejoicing, the exceeding rejoicing that takes place after the enemy is scattered. That is a different level, right? It's one thing to still rejoice in God when there's storms and valleys, but I tell you what, The rejoicing and praise to God gets on, if I can say it like that, when the real, literal enemy is driven away because of the presence of God. I mean, your back's up against the wall, and it's obvious that the only reason you have victory today is because of who your God is. You ought to rejoice exceedingly. When you consider your salvation that is from God, you rejoice exceedingly today because Jesus gave his life for you. You don't deserve it. The enemy of sin and Satan and the lake of fire, all of that has passed away. Those things are no more in your life because of God. You can live in victory. You are more than conqueror. Go ahead, rejoice. Then number 3, let the provisions be realized. Here's another one. Of course, we've been talking about the blessings of God a lot in the past few Psalms. And here it is again, bringing up the provisions. Notice this familiar verse to many who use it in prayer. And if you've never used this verse in prayer to recognize who your God is, go ahead and start. There's no time as good as the present when you realize verses like this. Psalm 68:19, blessed be the Lord who daily loadeth us with benefits, even the God of our salvation, Selah. Okay, this is a daily provision from God, but it's not just a daily provision. Daily provisions almost described here in an illustration like a dump truck that's just backing up to your life with the benefits of God, the blessings of God, the provisions of God, and then that gate is lifted and loads you up. These are yours. What a tremendous thought it is to understand the provisions of God, the daily blessings of God, how He loads us with benefits. Use this as a promise in your prayer. Then you will look to those daily blessings of God and say, wow, He's truly loaded me once again today. I rejoice from the correct perspective of God meeting my needs. Number 4, let God be recognized for His strength. When we are talking about the topic, let God arise, it leads us to verse 34 and 35. And there's so much more in this passage that we have to look over for time's sake. We've already had your attention for quite a while, but let us focus at the end of the psalm where it says, ascribe ye strength to God. Just go ahead and write it down, mark it down. Strength is God's. His excellency is over Israel. So as the psalmist is looking to it as the people of God, the chosen seed of Israel's race, he's saying God is excellent. He is over us. His strength is in the clouds. Look up. God is real. God's strength needs to be understood. Then verse 35, O God, Thou art terrible out of thy holy places. And that's not meaning like, it's bad food, terrible food. It's meaning He is awesome. He is fearful out of holy places. The God of Israel is He that giveth strength and power unto His people. Blessed be God. So why can I bless Him as He has arisen? Because the God of strength, the God of power has given to me today strength and power. He's given me blessings again today. He has arisen and shown me the enemy to scatter, the enemy to flee, driven away as the smoke. What a mighty God I serve. So go ahead, let God arise. Now this is stated as kind of like a command, let God arise. I mean, be it what happens in our life, we need to see you arise, God. We need you. This is a plea. This is a prayer. This is a desire for God to show up. And when God does, His presence makes a difference. Let God arise. Psalm 68. What a powerful topic and title to be challenged with today, to be encouraged with today. And if there's any area of your life where you need to see the grace and mercy of God change you, don't fight it. What a great God we serve. My dear friends, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for clicking play, for liking the video, for sharing the video, for subscribing, for clicking the bell button to receive the notifications of when we upload our next broadcast. That is a phenomenal blessing to us. Most of all, please know that we love you. Greater than that, God so loves you, and you can rest in who He is. Have a blessed day.